Chapter 1: Noise. For a long time, without realizing it, I lived in a constant hum. Oddly enough, it wasn't a sound. It was more like a constant mental noise where thoughts collided and echoed. The hum would begin the moment I woke up in the morning. Before I even opened my eyes, a voice inside me would say, "Will you be strong enough today? What if you make the same mistakes again? What if no one understands you?" I tried to silence those voices. I took refuge in music, mingled with crowds, and hid among the pages of books. But no matter what I did, the silence always remained a little far from me, because it wasn't the outside world I wanted to silence. The real storm was raging inside me. I paused for a moment and began to think, why is silence so difficult? Perhaps the silence frightened me, because when the silence fell, all the suppressed voices in my mind suddenly began to speak. Past mistakes, words I couldn't say, fears that had accumulated within me. Everything began to play simultaneously, like a forgotten orchestra. And in that moment, I realized what we thought was silence wasn't actually annihilation, but the most intense state of existence. Silence was a door beyond the senses. But as we stood before that door, we spoke constantly, as if we were trying to drown out the meaning of silence with our own voices. One day, I read something about quantum physics. It said, "The behavior of a particle depends on who is observing it." This sentence stuck with me. If even a particle behaves according to the observer's perception, perhaps my thoughts were also influenced by my own perspective. So, the more I focused on fear, the more intense it became. The more I focused on anxiety, the more intense it became. And this cycle created a universe within itself. Then I asked myself, what if I were the creator of my own universe, not the observer? If so, every vibration, every thought within me would radiate outward like a wave of energy, and the universe would respond to that vibration like an echo. At that moment, something changed. I realized the noise wasn't actually my enemy. It was merely a call, an echo, inviting me into that dark silence. Perhaps that noise was the voice of the universe trying to introduce me to myself. From that day on, I didn't run away. I remained silent. I simply listened. I didn't try to silence the voices in my mind. I tried to understand where they came from, and a strange thing happened. The more I listened, the more they disappeared. Like a child who silences when they feel understood. My mind slowly began to calm. As my thoughts faded, I became aware of the spaces between them. There was something in those spaces. Not a sound, not an image, but a presence I felt. Depth. It was as if the universe were breathing there. At that moment, I realized the universe wasn't there. It wasn't in the stars. It wasn't in the galaxies. The universe existed as a state of consciousness in the quietest corner of our minds. The more we silenced it, the further away we became. But when we listened, we began to hear the vibration of the universe within us. Perhaps what we perceived as noise was actually the universe's way of speaking to us. It said, "I'm here, but I can't hear you over your own voice. And now I know. True silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the vibration of everything in meaningful harmony. Fears, thoughts, memories. They were all different notes of the same orchestra. If we learn to listen, beneath that noise, we begin to hear the melody of the universe. And perhaps when the universe falls silent, we finally begin to listen to ourselves." Chapter 2: The Void. One morning, I tried not to feel anything. No joy, no sadness, no thought, just nothingness. I hung up the phone. I pulled down the curtains. And for the first time, I decided to listen not to the world, but to my own silence. At first, I thought it would be easy. But after just a few minutes, my mind immediately started to produce something. A voice whispered, "You're standing idle. Time is passing. You must do something." I had become so accustomed to fullness that the emptiness felt instantly dangerous. But then I stopped resisting. I just sat there, doing nothing. And that's when, in the midst of that silence, I realized for the first time how silent the universe could be. It was as if the whole world had held its breath for a moment. Not a single bird chirped outside, not a single thought inside. Even time seemed to stand still, and I was floating in an invisible void. This emptiness was frightening, yet familiar. It was as if the universe had returned to itself for a moment, listening to its own existence. And I was stuck in the midst of that introspective state. Perhaps I had been waiting a long time for the universe to return to me, but it turned out it had always been there. Only I couldn't hear it, lost in my own noise. Emptiness. A very simple word, yet it carries profound meaning. Most of us fear the void, because nothing is stable enough to hold on in the void. We begin to question ourselves, who we are, even why we live. But perhaps the true transformation begins right there, in nothingness, at that point where everything resets. In quantum theory, they say, the void isn't actually completely empty. It's filled with unseen energies. Particles arise from that invisible field and return to it. That morning, I realized the void within me operated in the same way. When my mind was quiet, that unseen field opened. And in that space, beyond thoughts, lay a silent yet vibrant consciousness. Perhaps the silence of the universe is terrifying for us, because in that silence, the boundaries of what we call I begin to dissolve. When we stop seeing ourselves as a body, an identity, a story, only existence remains. There is no past, no future. There is only the now, and that now expands like an infinite void. There was a strange peace in that silence. There was no joy, no fear, no expectation, just being. And that existence was like sharing the same breath with the entire universe. Perhaps the universe speaks to us most when we are silent, because then nothing intervenes. Nothingness, in fact, is the purest form of communication. The language of the universe is not words, but vibration. And only in silence can we hear this vibration. As we sat in the void, the concept of time slowly began to dissolve. Minutes, hours lost their meaning. A moment came. It was as if I ceased to be me and began to be everything. I existed on a bird's wing, on the surface of a stone, in the breath of a wind. And in that moment, I realized I'm not in a void. The void is within me. The silence of the universe isn't somewhere out there. It's hidden within us, in the deepest depths of our hearts. But hearing this silence sometimes requires losing everything we know. Because when you enter the void, the meaning of everything is rewritten. Fears dissolve. The past is erased. Identities dissolve. And all that remains is being. At the end of that day, I opened the curtains again. The sun poured into my room. Birds were chirping. Life continued where it left off. But something had changed. The sounds of the outside world could no longer disturb the silence within me, because I knew. That silence lived within me. And now, in the midst of everything, I carry that void. Even in a crowd, I know the silence is there. Because I learned. The void is not a place where nothing exists. On the contrary, it is the birthplace of all things, the heart of the universe. Perhaps when the universe falls silent, it is actually listening to its own heart. And when we become aware of the rhythm of that heart, for the first time, we truly become one with the universe, with the silence, and with ourselves. Chapter 3: The Observer. There's a rule in quantum physics. When you observe something, it no longer remains the same. Observation reduces possibilities to a single truth. In other words, a single look can change the behavior of the universe. This thought seemed abstract to me at first, but one day, when I looked within myself, I realized how real it was. I wasn't just a living being. I was the observer. And in that moment, I realized everything existed as I looked. When I looked at fear, fear intensified. When I looked at love, love expanded. Even my thoughts were shaped by the direction of my gaze. I asked myself, if I am the observer, then who is the observed? This question opened a silent door within me. The answer was beyond words, because at that moment, consciousness was looking at itself in its own mirror. Perhaps the whole secret of the universe lies there. We think we are observing the world, but in reality, the world is observing us. Every gaze creates an interaction. An invisible bond is established between the observer and the observed. And this bond is called awareness. The moment you notice something, you change it. But it also changes you. When you observe a cloud, even if the cloud's shape doesn't change, your inner thoughts change. When you look at a child smile, your energy shifts. Every observation creates an invisible interaction. This hidden dance of the quantum actually defines the nature of consciousness. The universe is not a fixed stage. It is a story constantly rewritten by our awareness. Every moment, every gaze, every thought shapes this story. I paused for a moment and looked within. Who am I? I asked. My mind immediately began to generate answers. I am a human being. I have a past. I have a step, a story. But when I looked a little deeper, I noticed a silence behind these descriptions. This silence, though it said nothing, knew everything. It was as if that silence were observing me, not me. That's when I realized it. I am the observer, but I am also the observed. It's like trying to touch your own reflection in a mirror. You reach out, but can never truly touch it, because it's your reflection and you are a part of it. Perhaps consciousness, in order to understand its own existence, had split into two. One is the observer, the other the observed. And these two dimensions experienced each other in an endless play. Then I realized that nothing existed outside of me. Everything was happening within my awareness. When I saw a tree, I wasn't just observing the tree. The tree, with its own existence, complemented my existence. We were both waves in the same sea of consciousness. This realization brought me a profound peace, because nothing seemed separate anymore. The observer and the observed were, in fact, the same consciousness, different vibrations of the same silence. In that moment, I felt the universe in a completely different way. I was no longer looking outward, but inward. And with each introspection, the external world changed. Because observation wasn't just seeing, observation was creating. Perhaps we are, unknowingly, the creative gazes of the universe. Every thought, every emotion, every moment of attention spreads like a tiny wave shaping reality, and the universe listens to these waves, responding to them. A moment came. In that profound silence where time, space, and body lost their meaning, only one awareness remained. The observer and the observed were one. I was the one being looked at, and I was the one being looked at. The universe was looking at itself through my eyes. In that moment, all sounds fell silent. All thoughts stopped, and I simply existed. In the silence of the universe, the observer's breath echoed, and perhaps in that moment, the universe truly saw itself for the first time. Chapter 4. Frequency. The universe is not essentially matter. While everything appears solid, tangible, and measurable, the essence of everything is actually energy, and the language of energy is frequency. Everything vibrates. Atoms, light, thoughts, even emotions. Every being in the universe carries its own unique vibrational melody. In the silence of a stone, in the light of a star, in the beating of a heart, there is an echo of the same rhythm. One day, I truly felt it. Suddenly, I found myself immersed in an invisible music. Not a note, not a melody could be heard, but a vibration emanated from everything. It was as if the universe were not speaking. It was simply vibrating. In that moment, I understood. Fear was a low vibration. It was like a closing door, a frequency that slowed the flow of energy, constricting existence. But compassion was the purest melody of the universe. It was an invisible thread that connected everything. When you truly understand a person, when you touch a living being, this frequency expands and spreads throughout the universe. At the quantum level, they say even a thought is a wave. That is, everything you think is sent out into the universe as a vibration, and the universe responds to this vibration. A thought, an intention, a feeling. They all spread like invisible waves, eventually finding a vibration that resembles their own. Then I realized my mind was a transmitter. My heart was a receiver. My mind sent the thought out into the universe, and my heart heard the echo of those vibrations. I asked myself, when will the frequencies disappear? If everything is trembling, what is that silence when the vibrations stop completely? Perhaps that moment was the moment when consciousness turned inward, the place where all vibrations are silenced, where all waves merge into the sea. This was the essence of silence, and there the observer and the observed, the transmitter and the receiver became one. The dance of frequencies was the universe's way of experiencing itself. Our thoughts guided this dance, and our emotions set its rhythm. When we were afraid, our frequency narrowed. When we felt compassion, it expanded. And this expansion resonated not only within us, but also with those around us. When you make someone smile, when you forgive someone, you aren't just sharing an emotion. You're changing the vibration of the universe. Because every heart, like a tiny transmitter, communicates with the universe. The compassion emanating from the heart can reach miles away. Even today, science says that the heart's electromagnetic field is thousands of times stronger than the brain's. This means the heart speaks the language of the universe, and this language is understood not through words, but through vibrations. The higher our frequencies, the more clearly and distinctly the world responds to us. The more we succumb to fear, anger, and despair, the more we become trapped in a lower frequency realm. But when awareness comes, energy rises, perception expands, and reality changes. A thought, an intention, a feeling, they are all messages sent to the universe. But the universe understands vibration, not words. That's why sometimes your wishes come true, because your heart has already spoken. Perhaps what we call prayer is more a state of frequency than words. The sincerity of a heart is the purest wave reaching the universe. And beyond all these vibrations, at some point, everything stops. Just as in the deepest depths of the ocean, there is no trace of waves. At that point, consciousness returns to its source. There is no frequency, no sound, no thought. There is only pure existence. That moment is when the universe is plunged into silence. But this silence is not an absence. On the contrary, it is the fullest state of existence. Because all frequencies, all energies, are born from that silence and return there. Now I know. The universe speaks not with words, but with frequency. And when we remember that language, fear is replaced by compassion, chaos by harmony. Perhaps the true voice of the universe is heard when we are silent, because silence, the purest frequency. Chapter 5. Silence. And then, a moment came. There was no past, no future. That thin line where time stopped flowing, where not even thoughts echoed. As if the universe had retreated behind a curtain. As if a theater stage were closing, all sounds, all movements suddenly fell silent. Not a single sound remained in my ears, not a single thought in my mind. But at that very moment, I realized how deep, how intense, and how loud what we call silence can be. This silence wasn't like death. On the contrary, it was like birth. It was a moment when a being breathes again, when a consciousness returns to its roots. I heard nothing, but I felt everything. I saw nothing, but I knew everything. It was as if the entire universe had forgotten to breathe for a moment, and in that breath, I had touched the purest state of existence. In that moment, I realized that silence was not nothingness. Silence was existence itself. It wasn't the disappearance of something, but the return of everything to its essence. We humans are accustomed to listening to the sounds outside, the rustle of the wind, the roar of the crowd, the endless noise of the city. But we've never listened to the silence that echoes within us. Perhaps we're afraid of it, because no mask can hide in silence. There's only you and your truth. When the universe fell silent, something inside me began to speak. It wasn't a thought, nor a voice made of words. It was rather pure awareness. It was as if someone had finally whispered into my ear a truth I'd longed for. Perhaps that voice was God. Perhaps it was consciousness. Perhaps it was simply the echo of existence. But whatever it was, that voice told me, "Now you can listen." As these words echoed within me, everything fell into place. For only in silence can one truly learn to listen. When words fall silent, when thoughts retreat, when the mind casts aside the shadows of the past and does not cling to the anxieties of the future, that's when you begin to hear the voice of your own being. The silence of the universe isn't actually a test. It's an invitation. It doesn't ask you to do anything. It simply asks you to be. It doesn't ask you to fix things, but to understand. For the essence of everything is born from silence. The birth of a star begins with silence. The opening of a heart with compassion. The awakening of a soul to awareness. First, everything stops. It becomes silent. And after that silence, life flows again. That's why silence is not an absence, but a sign of a new beginning. For in silence, the universe is reordered. All energies find a new balance. Before a melody can be reborn, the notes need silence. So is the music of the universe. Sometimes it grows silent until you are ready to hear it with your heart. And in that silence, I realized I was never alone. The moment the universe quieted, I became one with it. I was the observer, and the universe the observed. But in that moment, the boundary between the two slowly dissolved. There was no separation anymore. There was neither me nor the universe. There was only wholeness, only pure existence. In that moment, I felt that silence was the heartbeat of the universe, that first pulse from which every vibration, every life, every thought is born. We cannot hear that pulse because we are always talking, always thinking, always full. But one day, if you can let go of all that fullness, if you can surrender yourself completely to emptiness, to complete silence, then you will feel it. The universe is listening to you, quietly, carefully, without judgment. And in that listening, you will learn to listen to the universe. There will be no need for words, explanations, or definitions. Because at that moment, you will know everything already has a meaning. You will simply become aware of that meaning. And perhaps all the answers to all the questions humanity has been searching for centuries, are hidden right there in the midst of that silence. Because sometimes the universe that says nothing is telling you everything. Chapter 6, Awakening, Silence. At first, I thought this was the end, but it turned out to be a door opening to a deeper perception. Not a closing, but an opening. It was the first step a consciousness took toward its own essence. At that moment, I realized the real noise wasn't in the outside world. It wasn't in people's conversations, the sounds of cities, the chaos of the world. The real noise was within us, in the thoughts we couldn't suppress, that inner voice that never stopped, those endless what-if questions. That was the real noise. When the universe fell silent, I was actually awakening, because the silence reborn consciousness. I wasn't trying to understand things. I was simply feeling them. And every sensation whispered a truth to me. The universe wasn't outside of me. I was the universe itself. As this awareness grew, matter slowly began to lose its meaning. Everything I thought was solid was turning into fluid energy. My thoughts, my emotions, even my body had become vibrating waves of a whole. And at the center of these waves was a single energy, me. At that moment, a thought crossed my mind. So waking up isn't about opening your eyes. Waking up is about seeing the truth behind your eyes. Because when consciousness awakens, nothing remains the same. Even time loses its meaning. Minutes disappear. Moments become eternity. I began to hear the language of the universe. It spoke not in words, but in frequencies. There was a rhythm in the wind, in the flow of water, even in the beating of my heart, the melody of a universal harmony. In that moment, I understood. I was not an observer of anything. I was one with the observed. When the veil between observer and observed is lifted, the purest form of existence emerges. There is no longer an I and an it. There is only one us. There is only one. Awakening is not a matter of knowledge. It is a state of awareness. It is difficult to describe in words because words are limited, but awakening is limitless. There comes a time when you can no longer learn anything because you know. Your consciousness knows, not your mind. Your heart knows. In this awareness, matter becomes an illusion. Energy speaks, and that energy is you. Everything resonates with your vibration. You feel you can change the world with a thought, because that thought is a wave of energy, and the universe hears that wave. In those moments, I began to understand how the universe works. Everything was an echo. Everything was an echo. Whatever you thought, you summoned. Whatever you felt, you created. This was the purest form of awakening, realizing that you are no longer a victim, but a creator. I was no longer an entity watching me. I was the consciousness that shaped what was being watched. And this consciousness was too vast to be contained within a body. This consciousness was hidden in the vibration of the stars, the rhythm of the seas, the silent fall of a leaf. And I felt one with everything. Awakening wasn't a destination. It was a journey. One day, you couldn't say, "I'm finished," because every realization opened a new door. Behind each door, a different depth awaited you. And with every step you took into that depth, you became a little simpler, a little quieter, a little more peaceful. Awakening was the loudest sound of peace, because in that moment, you no longer wanted anything. You knew everything was as it should be. You were no longer searching, because you felt you had found it. Your search was over, and all that remained was to exist. And in this state of existence, a power is born, a fearless, pure power. This isn't a power you possess. It's your very nature. When you're in harmony with the universe, you too become part of that grand rhythm. Then you don't rush anything, because you know everything comes at the right time. Not a second too soon, not a second too late. The universe's time is perfect. And perhaps what we call awakening is simply the realization of this truth. You never slept. You were merely dreaming. And now, you've awakened to the truth within that dream. Now you see, now you hear, and most importantly, now you feel. Because awakening is not the recall of knowledge, but the recall of existence. You were always the universe. Remembering this was enough. Chapter 7. Now. Now I know. I was born at the moment the universe fell silent. For silence is, in fact, the language of eternity. Every breath, every heartbeat is an echo of that silence. Once upon a time, I searched for meaning outside. Behind the stars, within the atoms, perhaps somewhere God hides. But now I understand that nothing is there. Everything was now. Everything was within me. Time wasn't a line. It was merely a moment in which consciousness breathed. The past, an echo. The future, a possibility. And the only place where all these possibilities converged was right now, in my heartbeat. When the universe fell silent, I learned to listen to myself. Because in that silence, all the answers were already there, waiting for me to hear. Now I understand. The way to speak to the universe isn't through more thinking, but through deeper feeling. When you remain silent, the walls of words crumble, and then energy speaks. Sometimes through a melody, sometimes through the sound of the wind, sometimes simply through the vibration of your heart. Perhaps you hear it too. That subtle vibration between yourself and the universe. Stop for a moment. Do nothing. Just listen. Listen not to yourself, but to existence. You will recognize that profound call within the silence. And when that moment arrives, the universe, for a moment, it will fall into silence again. Because you will vibrate at the same frequency. It will speak to you as if sharing a secret. I was not separate from you. In that moment, time dissolves. Matter loses its meaning, and only pure consciousness remains. Nothing is out there anymore. Everything is within you. And perhaps that's why all ancient teachings, all words of wisdom, all quests, all point to the same place. Now. Because now carries simultaneously the echo of the past, the possibility of the future, and the silence of eternity. So, the moment the universe falls silent, is actually the moment you are reborn. If you are listening to this right now, and time has stopped for a moment, if all sounds have disappeared, if you hear only your heartbeat, know that the universe is still silent, and it is listening to you. And remember, silence is not merely stopping, it is remembering your existence. Now, the universe is listening to you. The biggest lie we've been told about money. The harder you work, the more you earn. We've been raised with this mindset since childhood. They used to say, go to school, study hard, put in the hours, sweat, be patient. The rewards will eventually come to you. But tell me, is that really how it happened? For generations, this teaching has been embraced as sacred law. Factories, offices, even the education system have been shaped around this belief. Produce more, strive harder, get more tired. Because it was said that value is measured by your labor. But no one ever asked the question, if there are so many workers, why are there so few rich people? The truth is, money doesn't respond to effort. Money responds to frequency. And unless we understand this difference, we will continue to cycle through the system. Look, fatigue has become a badge of honor. Endless work, exhaustion, sleepless nights. Society has told these stories as if they were tales of heroism. But true abundance begins not at the end of effort, but at the moment your consciousness shifts. Quantum physics tells us this. Everything is energy. Matter, money, thought. It's all vibration. Your emotions, beliefs, and thoughts determine this vibration. In other words, the frequency you vibrate at attracts realities of that frequency into your life. That's why some people work less and earn more, because their energy is tuned to the frequency of abundance. They don't chase money, they attract it. They are in mental, emotional, and energetic harmony. In other words, they don't chase money, they are in harmony with it. Now, let's delve a little deeper. In the industrial age, labor has become a religion. Work was seen as a temple, time as a sacred sacrifice, and fatigue as a form of worship. However, this belief system alienated people from their essence. Because you are an energy being, a creator through your consciousness, not your physical body. And if your consciousness is focused on effort, struggle, or lack, the universe will always reflect that vibration back to you. True wealth is an energetic harmony that precedes any physical accumulation. Because money, like love, peace, or security, is a form of energy. You can't get it simply by working, without feeling it, without wanting it, without believing you deserve it. Accepting this is the most shocking truth of modern economics. At the quantum level, thought is a signal. This signal is amplified by your emotions and reinforced by your beliefs. So, when you think, money isn't coming to me, you are actually sending that frequency out into the universe. The universe confirms your belief. But when you say, I am abundant, the universe receives this signal, even if it's not yet in your account, and responds accordingly. That's why wealth is first a feeling. Then it becomes a reality. It's not a miracle, but a resonance. The sender-receiver relationship. The wealthiest people have realized this truth, either consciously or intuitively. They keep their energy in harmony with abundance. They invest in trust, not fear. They move with the flow, not out of obligation, because they know that money responds to harmony, not force. Now is the time to realize this. Wealth is the result of awareness, not sacrifice. It's the result of vibration, not exhaustion. And most importantly, Money is not an external force. It's a reflection of your inner frequency. So ask yourself today, what frequency do I vibrate at? Scarcity or abundance? Hardship or confidence? Because no matter what the answer, the universe responds to that frequency. Money is just a tool. It's energy that moves at the same frequency as your inner beliefs. And that moment of awareness changes everything. It's no longer about working harder. It's about being more conscious. Because money synchronizes with energy, not effort. And when you align with that energy, abundance begins to seek you out. Chapter 2. Money isn't just metal or paper. It's a byproduct of frequency. Over a century ago, a man named Wallace D. Wattles described what he called thinking matter. He believed that this matter was an invisible consciousness permeating the entire universe. Every thought, every emotion served as an instruction to this conscious matter. Wattles said, "Wealth is the product of thought, not effort." In other words, this matter responded not to our actions, but to our internal state, our energy. This isn't just a metaphor. Today, quantum physics scientifically supports what he intuitively said back then. In the subatomic world, the behavior of a particle changes when it is observed. Observation, awareness, transforms possibilities into reality. Scientists call this the observer effect. But this isn't just in laboratories. It applies to every aspect of our lives. Reality is shaped around awareness. Your inner frequency, the energy emitted by your thoughts and emotions, sends a signal into the quantum field, and the field responds to this signal. Most people unknowingly radiate lack. They think, "I have no money, the bill is coming, things are getting worse." The universe hears this signal and confirms it. More scarcity, more stress, more struggle. That's why you can't escape this cycle with effort alone. Because this isn't a physical problem, it's an energetic dissonance. You solve a frequency problem with awareness, not effort. The outer world is always an echo of the inner world. This isn't just a philosophical thought, it's a law of physics. Think about it for a moment. Has there ever been a time in your life when everything felt easier? Did an unexpected opportunity arise? Or did a source of money suddenly and unexpectedly appear before you? What were you like in those moments? Were you afraid? No. Were you stuck? No. You were probably relaxed. You were in the flow. Maybe you were joyful. Maybe you were at peace. And in those moments, your frequency shifted. You were speaking the language of the universe. You were no longer a warrior, but a magnet. The universe responded with the same vibration. This is where money, abundance, emerges. It's not a matter of working harder. It's a matter of working at a higher vibration, shifting from a survival consciousness to an abundance consciousness, operating from a sense of fullness, not scarcity. And when this happens, the external world magically reorganizes. When you send a new signal, your entire energy field aligns with it. Because scarcity and abundance aren't just concepts, they are measurable energy states. Scarcity forces the body to contract. It constricts the mind, restricts awareness, and floods the body with stress hormones. Abundance does the opposite. It opens the chest, softens the breath, and expands the heart. And this expansion magnifies the electromagnetic field. People sense this intuitively. There are some people you feel at peace with when you approach them. There's something about them, a quiet trust, a natural flow. They don't force, they don't fight, they just allow. And strangely, things always work out in their favor. This isn't a coincidence. It's the law of frequency. They radiate an energy that says, I already have everything I need. And the universe brings events that align with this energy. On the other hand, people who are constantly anxious, constantly chasing money. No matter how hard they work, they constantly feel lack because their frequency is trapped in scarcity. The universe reflects more of this lack back to them. It's a vicious cycle. And this cycle can't be broken by effort. It can only be broken by a change in frequency. Most people work, strive, and sacrifice for years. But if their inner world remains the same, so too does their outer world. Waddles calls this working in a specific way. Working energetically in harmony, not just any way. It's consciousness, not effort, that determines the outcome. The inner tone you bring to your work is important. When you operate from a sense of scarcity, your actions are futile. When you operate from a sense of abundance, every action is powerful. The outward behaviors may look the same, but the energetic signature is completely different. And remember, the universe hears your frequency, not your words. Part 3. So, at this point, the most important question arises. How do you change your frequency? How can you move from scarcity to abundance when your bank account tells you otherwise? This is where most people get stuck. Because getting into the vibration of abundance when you're surrounded by debt, bills, and uncertainty seems nearly impossible. But the secret isn't in denying reality. It's in choosing which reality you align with. Right now, in the quantum realm, infinite possibilities are available to you. One version of you is still struggling. The other is thriving. What determines which version of you emerges in your life is which frequency you can most consistently maintain. It's not about hoping or wishing. It's about feeling. It's about changing your inner vibration, even if reality doesn't yet approve of you. Faith isn't blind hope. It's the ability to consistently maintain an unseen frequency. Feeling rich before the wealth arrives. Feeling grateful when the evidence isn't there. This is where transformation truly begins, because it's like moving from one reality to another. The bridge isn't your thoughts, but your bodily frequency. Now take a deep breath for a moment, and as you exhale, let go of the need to control the outcome. Let go of the question, how will it happen? Just for this moment, feel like money is no longer an issue. What would your body be like? Is your chest a little more open? Is your breathing more relaxed? That feeling, the frequency of abundance. And every time you notice this, every time you return, your nervous system learns a new signal. Your energy, not your mind, is being trained. The quantum field senses this new vibration and responds to it. Because the universe isn't being manipulated, it's in harmony with it. This doesn't mean doing nothing. You're still moving, creating. But the tone of your actions changes. You shift from the tension of, I must achieve this, to the comfort of, I can express this. And this shift changes everything. You no longer force it. You allow it. Mental pressure is replaced by self-confidence. The doors to creativity open because you're no longer working to survive, but to express. And people feel it. Opportunities feel it. Money feels it too. Because everything, absolutely everything, is energy. Energy always seeks resonance. That's why gratitude is so powerful. It's not just a feeling of gratitude, it's a frequency shifter. When you feel grateful for something, you send a message to the universe. There's enough. And the universe responds, there's more. It's a positive feedback loop. But most people do the opposite. They focus on what's missing, what's wrong, what's not. And the universe hears that frequency, lack. Then it proves you right. It gives you more lack. Not as punishment, but simply as a reflection. So ask yourself, what signal are you sending right now? Not what you want to send, but what you are actually broadcasting. Because the universe hears your energy, not your words. It's not your thoughts that create your reality, but your habitual inner state. Money responds to this state, its frequency, not your effort. And when you realize this, everything changes. You stop overworking. You stop exhausting yourself in the name of productivity. Instead, you develop an inner harmony that naturally attracts wealth. This is the shift from doing to being, from pushing to allowing, from striving to sleeping. And this isn't passivity, this is true power. Because when you're on the right frequency, your actions merge with the flow. You work with the universe, not against it. Think of it like a radio. If you're on the wrong frequency, you'll only hear static. Turn up the volume as loud as you like, play with the antenna, it won't work. But when you find the right frequency, the music suddenly becomes clearer. That's how money works. It broadcasts at a specific frequency. And when it tunes to that frequency, the signal becomes clearer. It no longer feels like work. It feels like flow, like grace. You feel like the universe is conspiring behind the scenes on your behalf. And it truly is, because now you're moving with the current, not against it. And the current is much stronger than you think. Chapter 4. Most people think that creating abundance is just sitting around dreaming about money, as if a miracle can happen just by thinking. But this is one of the biggest misunderstandings about how manifestation works. Real change doesn't just happen in thought, it happens in frequency. And frequency change always requires action. But this action comes from inspiration, not despair. Inspired action comes from an overflow of energy, an inner drive, a feeling of, I must do this. It's a flow that comes from overflow, not exhaustion. So when you're on the right frequency, the desire to do something naturally arises. You magnetically attract an idea, an opportunity, a person into your life. And when you heed these calls, the universe begins to cooperate with you. Inspired action is not an obligation, but a guidance. It's not swimming against the current, but flowing with it. If things become easier, if you feel that, yes, this is right, that's inspiration. And every step you take, guided by inspiration, is effort itself. Effort itself. As Wallace D. Wattles said, thinking a certain way doesn't just mean positive thinking. It means reframing your thoughts, aligning your energy with the flow of the universe. Because you are not a separate entity from this universe. The universe itself is expressing itself through you. And when you realize this, you see that abundance is not something external, but an extension of your nature. Our mind acts as a translator, managing this energy. Your brain searches for evidence of what you believe. This is called confirmation bias, and it's one of the most powerful mechanisms shaping our experience. If you believe money is hard to come by, your mind will show you all the examples that support it. Closed doors, unpaid bills, rejections. But when you believe abundance is available, that same mind will open up a whole new world to you. These opportunities have always been there. You just couldn't see them. When your belief changes, your perception changes. When your perception changes, reality begins to look different. And that's when what we call coincidences emerge. These are actually natural echoes of your new frequency. The universe begins to speak to you. It sends the right people, the right ideas, the right moments. And as you respond to these calls, a new cycle begins, an ascending spiral. That's why abundance teachers always emphasize mindset, because the mind is the key to frequency. If your mind remains in scarcity, no matter how hard you work, you'll produce the same vibration. But if you truly believe that abundance already exists, your frequency will rise. And reality will have to adapt to your new frequency. This isn't toxic positivity. This isn't denying reality, but understanding its nature. Where you are is a result of your past frequency. In other words, your current circumstances don't determine your future. They are merely a reflection of the past. When you realize this, you can accept where you are, but move forward without getting stuck there. This awareness creates a shift at the quantum level. Quantum physics tells us this: all possibilities exist simultaneously. An observation transforms one of these possibilities into matter. In other words, your observation is your reality. Wherever you focus your attention, energy flows. If you focus on absence, you magnify absence. If you focus on abundance, you magnify abundance. It's that simple, but not easy. Because when you're surrounded by absence, believing in unseen abundance takes courage. It takes confidence, even without proof. And this confidence becomes the foundation of your frequency. Changing your frequency doesn't happen overnight. It's a matter of practice. It's a matter of inner discipline. But remember, you already emit a frequency. Every thought, every emotion, every story you tell sends a signal. And the universe is listening to that signal. Unless you're aware, you'll recreate the same cycles. True transformation begins with awareness. Notice how your body feels when you think about money. Do you feel limitation, anxiety, or fear? Or expansion, relief, confidence? These feelings are indicators of your current frequency. If your frequency stems from lack, your experience will do the same. But the moment you notice it, you have the power to change it. Do this gently, not forcefully. Place your attention on abundance. Notice the small evidence of the flow that already exists in your life. Be grateful. As you become more aware of what you have, you attract more of it. Because the universe is deeply aware of the frequency of gratitude. This seemingly unproductive action is the most productive action you can achieve, because it shifts the root. When the frequency shifts, reality inevitably shifts. And then you're no longer trying to survive. You're living. Chapter 5. Giving when you feel scarce may seem counterintuitive, right? But the secret is to give not because you have to, but from your abundance, from your surplus. Even a small gesture, $1, a kind word, a moment of your time, sends the message to the universe: I have enough. The universe hears this and says, okay, let's prove it. This is the principle of circulation. Money, like energy, flows and must flow. When you hoard out of fear, you halt that flow. But when given at the right frequency, everything returns multiplied. The point is, if giving is conditional, with the expectation of return or out of obligation, it's not the frequency of abundance. It's manipulation disguised as generosity. True giving is the product of a natural, joyful, and exuberant feeling connected to an infinite resource. Therefore, giving inevitably brings a return. Because what you're doing isn't just a transaction. It's a way of demonstrating your trust in the universe. Of course, practical steps are also necessary. Apply for jobs, invest, start a business, do all of these. But remember, when these actions come from a frequency of abundance, they inspire, energize, and open doors. When they come from a frequency of scarcity, they create feelings of helplessness, tension, and exhaustion. The same external action, with a different internal frequency, produces completely different results. When you're in a frequency of abundance, opportunities arise naturally. Your instincts guide you in the right direction, and you encounter people who can support you. When you act on these impulses, things move with surprising grace. The universe doesn't do the work for you. You work in harmony with it. No more swimming against the current. Let the current carry you. It's effortless effort. Work that doesn't feel like work because it's aligned with who you truly are. And everything you do at this frequency brings greater productivity without greater effort. Working 1 hour with an abundance mindset can be more effective than working 40 hours with a scarcity mindset. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're not unlucky. You're just tuned to the wrong frequency. And this frequency can be changed right now. It doesn't require a degree, special talent, or a long time. It just requires willingness. Let go of the old story and try a new path. Trust that the universe is working to support you, not against you, because it is. The universe is not neutral. It is sensitive and intelligent. It offers opportunities for you to align with it. No more fighting or proving. Simply embrace the frequency and go with the flow. This week, I offer you a challenge. Choose an action that originates from the frequency of abundance. Don't be forced to do something. Do something that excites and grows you. It could be reaching out to someone, starting a project you've been putting off, or investing in yourself in a scary yet harmonious way. Whatever it is, do it and observe. Then come back here and leave a word in the comments. A word that reflects your chosen frequency. Abundance, flow, confidence, expansion, whatever resonates with you. This sends a signal into the quantum field. Every conscious choice not only changes your own life, but also contributes to the collective consciousness. It's important to facilitate access to abundance. The right community and context will free you from illusions and allow you to maintain your frequency. The more people embrace this understanding, the more the collective consciousness shifts, making it easier for everyone to reach a natural state of abundance. We are here to thrive and create, not to survive. But money is a tool on this journey. It is energy, a medium of change. In a deeper sense, it is freedom. It is creative power, the ability to influence the world as it should be. When you approach money from a perspective of creation and contribution, not acquisition and consumption, everything changes. The universe responds to service and value creation. A higher frequency is created when your relationship with money is fueled by what you can give, not what you can receive. In this frequency, money is a conduit, not a dam. The world's richest people know this. Those who create value, solve problems, and improve the lives of millions naturally attract abundance, not hoard it. So, if you want to permanently shift your frequency, change your intention. What do I want to create? Who do I want to help? What impact do I want to make? When your focus shifts from saving to contributing, you automatically rise to the next level. Remember, money is an outcome, not a destination. It's a vehicle along the journey. You can embody the frequency of contribution right now. Even with a kind word, a shared knowledge, a kind comment, or even a gesture of support. Chapter 6. This is the essence of this talk. Wealth isn't just money, it's a level of consciousness. And this consciousness manifests itself at 5 different levels. At the lowest frequency is survival consciousness. This is a state of pure scarcity, fear, and reactivity. The vast majority of people operate from this consciousness, especially when it comes to money. Here, every action is based on not losing. And the universe reflects this consciousness back to you as a constant struggle. When you reach the next level, you reach security consciousness. You're no longer focused on survival, but on preserving what you have. At this level, fear is still present, just better camouflaged. This consciousness provides some stability, but its scope is still limited. Because the underlying belief, "I'm not enough," persists. The third level is comfort consciousness. The middle-class mentality is often found here. Basic needs are now met. Life is comfortable, but there's no growth. The universe offers neither loss nor growth. This is a neutral frequency, a waiting area, and most people stay there for years, even a lifetime. The next level is expansion consciousness. This is where everything changes. You no longer see money as something to be accumulated, but as energy. Money is a tool for contributing to the flow. You invest, you create, you take risks, and a confidence arises within you. More will always come. The universe responds with growth. Opportunities coalesce, abundance accelerates. This is the level where wealth truly begins to flow. And at the very top lies contribution consciousness. This is the frequency of pure abundance. You no longer create just for yourself, but for the world. You are so connected to Source that the feeling, "I am an expression of abundance," becomes natural. And paradoxically, this is where the greatest wealth flows. Because you are no longer accumulating, you are becoming a conduit. The universe is expressing itself through you. Stop now and ask yourself this question. What level of consciousness am I at right now? Most of us oscillate between survival and security. We sometimes find comfort, rarely expand, and few truly achieve contribution consciousness. But here's the beauty. It's a choice. With conscious awareness, you can move up the scale. The first step begins with noticing. When you experience scarcity, notice the feeling. Observe your thoughts, the tension in your body. Don't judge, just be aware. Then ask yourself these questions. If I were abundant, what would I think now? How would I feel? What would I do? And then, even before circumstances change, act accordingly. Because first, the frequency changes, then reality. You may feel fake at first, but that's normal. It's not fake. It's an adjustment process. After a while, your new frequency will become natural. And then abundance is no longer something you seek. You become yourself. Abundance becomes your default state. And money begins to flow as naturally as breathing. Of course, you might say, but the system is unfair. There are inequalities. Yes, there are. Some people are born with more advantages. Some have more challenges. But remember, consciousness operates beyond systems. If you give all your power to external circumstances, you chain yourself to victim consciousness. And victim consciousness is the lowest frequency. As long as you remain there, struggle is inevitable. The powerful attitude is, yes, there are challenges, but I will still act with abundance consciousness because that's where my power lies. You don't deny the challenges. You don't let them define you. And when enough people live with this awareness, systems begin to change. Because change always happens from the inside out. This is the true revolution. It doesn't start in the streets, it starts within your consciousness. When you change, the world changes. The universe hides nothing from you. It simply waits for you to align with the frequency of what you desire. And when you reach that frequency, everything begins to happen effortlessly for you. Not through effort, but through harmony. Not through force, but through flow. Because remember, money responds to frequency, not effort. You now have the knowledge. Now it's time to live it. The moment you hear this, the responsibility is yours. Make this moment a turning point today. Remind yourself, I am an expression of abundance, and the universe will reflect this awareness back to you and multiply it exponentially.